and withdrawing would prohibit funding for F-18 aircraft procurement in the coming fiscal year until the Secretary of the Navy certifies that he has reviewed the recommendations included in the Navy's comprehensive review of physiological episodes involving T-45 and F-18 aircraft, and that plans have been developed and funding is available to implement the numerous recommendations included in the report. I do not offer this amendment lightly. I know many members support extended production of F-18 aircraft and that the Navy has significant F-18 readiness problems and needs new aircraft. I also recognize that the problem of physiological events in fighter aircraft goes beyond the F-18. Navy student pilots have not been allowed to fly the Navy's T-45 training aircraft for more than 2 months due to similar concerns. And just last week, the Air Force grounded its F-35A aircraft at Luke Air Force Base based on concerns about similar events in those aircraft. However, I offer this amendment because the Navy's recently published report, the comprehensive review I mentioned earlier, included several major findings that I think all members should be aware of as they and we consider F-18 production, in particular, in the future. First, the report concluded, for the first time that I am aware of, that at least 4 pilot deaths have occurred as a result of physiological events in F-18 aircraft. Up until now, it was not known publicly whether or not any lives had been lost due to this specific problem in F-18s. We now know that 4 lives have been lost. We also know from our hearings, briefings, and site visits that there have been many close calls as well. Second, the report concluded, quote, and I quote, "The integration of the onboard oxygen generation system, OBOGs, in the T-45 and F-18 is inadequate to consistently provide high-quality breathing air," unquote. And as a result of that conclusion, the report also recommended that the Navy, quote, "redesign aircraft life support systems as required to meet OBOG's input specifications," unquote. The report also included more than 30 other recommendations covering organizational, T-45, medical, and other issues. So the situation we now face is a difficult one. We know we need more F-18 aircraft, but we also now know that the Navy has concluded that the F-18's design in the critical area of aircrew life support is flawed and must be redesigned. I'm going to withdraw my amendment today in the hope that by the time of the NDAA's passage later this year, the Navy, in cooperation with the many defense companies involved with the F-18 and T-45, will have addressed the many issues raised in the Navy's recent report. I also hope that by the time the NDAA is done, we can be sure that the $1.8 billion we are authorizing for 22 new F-18s will not end up procuring aircraft that have a serious built-in defect in the area of pilot life support, which is where things stand today. While I know the Navy needs new planes, pilots serving on our behalf must be able to trust the design of the aircraft they are asked to fly into combat. Naval aviation is an inherently risky activity, and I greatly admire all who serve in it. I think we owe it to them to do all we can to make sure the planes they are flying are as safe as possible. I look forward to examining this issue more in the months ahead, and I ask unanimous consent to withdraw my amendment.
If the gentlelady will